My name is Tom Seguin, and I'm a Master Gemologist Appraiser, and I own and operate Suncoast Gem Laboratories here in Bradenton, Florida. Someone, and this is a common question that we get quite often, is someone will say, well, you know, do you just stretch my ring? And there are a couple different ways that that rings are sized, and we can stretch rings, and we have a machine in the shop that's called a ring stretcher. The ring stretcher looks like this. This is a mandrel, except and this is what we use for checking the size on a ring. So a ring stretcher looks just like this, except it has a piston that comes in from the bottom, and it's split on the four equally opposing sides. And so when you put a ring on the ring shank and you pull down on the handle, it forces the piston up inside of the ring stretcher, and it expands and it stretches the ring shank. And you can only stretch rings that are bands that have no stone set in them. And really the majority of the rings have stone set in them. So for wedding bands, you can stretch them, but other than that, rings when they're sized are cut. So this is a wedding band, continuous, has no stones in it, and if we were going to size this up, we put the band onto the ring stretcher, and as you can see, this machine has the mandrel split in four sides, and the piston goes up inside the mandrel when you push the handle, and that spreads this apart. So what we do when we want to size the ring up is we put it on the ring stretcher and push the handle, and while we're doing that, we're putting constant pressure on the ring, and we can feel it moving down the ring stretcher. Now you need to do that stretched. This is cone shaped, so that has stretched the one edge of the ring, and you need to do it so it's equal. You need to take it off and do the other side and put it down further. And then we would check the ring size with our mandrel, and we can do this little bits at a time. So if we're not quite there yet, we put it back on the ring stretcher, turn it over, stretch it some more until we get to the size that we want. And again, we can't do this if the ring has any stones, because you can break the stones. The first thing that we would do if someone brought a ring in to be sized, and here's a ring that has to be sized, is we have to slip it onto the mandrel. And this is a mandrel that has, sizing mandrel, that has the different sizes, and they're sized in quarter carat or quarter size increments. You can't really get more precise than a quarter size when you're sizing a ring. Some will say, can you make it a size 5 3/4 plus? You can't get that accurate, because when we're going to size a ring, for example, this ring right now, I'm sliding it onto the mandrel, and the ring shank, and gold's malleable, you need to slide it right down and push it down onto the mandrel. It goes down to, the leading edge goes down to a size 9. So if we were going to size the ring down to a size 8, that's one size, what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to cut a 2 millimeter piece out of this, and that's one size, 2 millimeters. So a quarter size is a 1/2 millimeter. It's a very, very small piece of metal. So to think we can get an 1/8 of a size and be accurate is just not realistic. So a quarter size is the most accurate size that we can get. So if we were going to size this ring down one size to a size 8, we'd measure it, and then we'd have to determine what the customer's finger size is. This is a jeweler's saw. These saws are very, very delicate and very thin, and you can do, a talented jeweler can do filigree work, and it's amazing what they can do with this very, very thin blade. But this is the type of saw that you would use to cut a ring shank. And this is the bench pin. This is what the jewelers use to hold their work. So we're through there now. Open it up so we can get the saw blade out. So that's a jeweler's saw. So there are a lot of different ways that diamonds and colored gemstones are held into pieces of jewelry. And the most common type of setting that we see is prong setting. And in order for a diamond to be held in place in prongs, the stone has to be secured with the prongs going over the surface of the top of the stone. And so the way that that's done is they have stone setting burrs. If we're talking about a round diamond, we have stone setting burrs that are all different diameters in like 1/10 of a millimeter differences. So we'll have a whole set of stone setting burrs, which I'll show you, that have different sizes. And so we measure the diameter of the stone. We measure the diameter of the stone setting burr, so they're going to be exactly the same. And then we take the stone setting burr, we mount it into a hand drill, we hold the ring in place, and we cut a notch in each one of those, usually 4 or 6 prongs for a round diamond. So after you've cut the notch, and that creates the stone seat in the prongs, then you bend the prongs over. We have a special type of pliers. They're called ring bending pliers. You bend the prongs over so they're over the top of the stone, and then you trim the stones and polish them. So that's how the stone is set in place. And that's the most common type of stone setting. And that's something you would do in a new ring if you're making a new engagement ring, or if you're changing the size of the diamond in an engagement ring. You might take the head out of the ring, and the head is what holds. The head is what has the prongs that's mounted onto the top of a ring that holds a stone in place. So you can have a ring that has that can accommodate different sizes of diamonds, and so the heads are interchangeable. You can, if you have a 3/4 carat diamond, you would use a head, either 4 or 6 prong, to go into the ring for the 3/4 carat diamond. If you use a 1 carat, then you could take that 3/4. Say you want a bigger diamond. That's pretty common theme among women, is they want bigger diamonds. So you can take that head out of the ring, take a bigger head, and put it back into the ring, and then do the same routine. Put the bigger diamond in there. So that's one type of stone setting. And so let's talk a little bit about what happens if you. This is another common repair that comes in the door. If you have a woman who has had a ring for a long time. We have people that have had their engagement ring for 30, 40, 50 years, and they wear them every day. And again, gold and silver and platinum being malleable, they'll wear. So that means you rub your ring on a rough surface, and steel is harder than gold. You'll eventually wear the prongs down, and so if you have prongs that are very thin or prongs that break and they're completely gone, then you could potentially lose your diamond, and the diamond's the most expensive part of the ring, so you don't want to do that. You want to prevent that. That's why jewelers always will suggest to you that you check, come in, have your rings cleaned, and the prongs checked for wear that could cause loss or damage. If you catch the prongs in time, and they're worn, but there's still some metal there, and it's a diamond ring, then a diamond will take the heat of the jeweler's torch. Again, metal, 14 karat yellow gold, will flow. It'll melt at about 1,050 degrees. And a diamond doesn't start to be scorched until over 2,000 degrees. So you can actually take a piece of gold solder, and again, heating it up. When you heat a flat piece of gold solder, it melts and it goes into a little ball. You take the solder pick, you attach it to, again, you do that while you're heating it. You pick up the gold solder, that little ball, and it's on the solder pick now. You take it and you put it on top of the prong with a little bit of flux. You heat it up and it flows again, and it builds up the prong, so it makes it thick again, and then you can wear it again for years and years. So that's if you catch it in time. If you don't catch it in time and the prong actually breaks, where it's completely gone, then you have to rebuild the prong, which is a much more involved process. What you have to do is you have to actually take a piece of gold wire, and you start below the surface of well, not below the surface, below the edge of the diamond where the base of the prong is, and you cut it there, and you take a gold wire and you form a new prong. So you have to cut the new stone seat, you have to solder the prong in place where the base of the old prong was, and then basically reset the stone or cut the stone seat again. So that's more involved. But anyway, so that's how prong repair is done.